This
Good to go.
conference will
Good to
now
go.
be recorded.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our Town of Mona Police Service Board meeting. Welcome to our usual gang that's on the screen here. Starting off, we have any declarations of conflict or pecuniary interest? Okay, seeing none. Moving on. Public question period. Are there any public?
None
Okay,
received, Mike.
okay. I have a motion to approve the agenda, or are there any additions? Motion to approve, Wayne, seconded by John. All in favor? That's carried. Um, Approval of the minutes of the meeting of Wednesday, the February the 9th, 2022. Any changes to that? Discussion? Motion to approve. Wayne, John, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Really, there was no matters arising from the minutes other than status updates, and probably I can imagine what these are going to be. But towing bylaw, any updates on towing bylaw?
Mr. Chair, the only thing I can add to that is I'm hearing through Orangeville that they have their piece almost completed. Now, what that means, I'm not sure. I haven't seen a draft. I haven't seen anything, but they're telling me that it's almost completed.
Okay, is Jen still working with them on that?
She has been, and she's still hearing the same things, right? Again, we haven't seen a draft of it.
Okay, Mr. Mayor.
I was going to say that the problem there is that the clerk that we started out working with has either retired or is on the verge of retiring. So I'm a little concerned this is going to get lost in the mix.
Yeah, I can see with their CAO going off on leave, there's going to be a little bit of a bumpy road there at Orangeville. So um, anyway, I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Okay, any update on the POA, John?
Oh, where do I start? We had a POA stakeholders meeting, I think last week, and here's the grim news. The time to trial is now 3 times greater than it used to be traditionally. So it stands at 21 months. The Supreme Court of Canada, in its various rulings, indicates that fair trials occur within 18 months. So there's a whole lot of trial work that is at jeopardy based on the fact that it is outside the parameters of what the Supreme Court of Canada dictates. The time to an early resolution, which is the quickest and most efficient way of dealing with a charge, has gone from I believe it's 6 months to 12 months. So to say that the system is in a shambles is an understatement. The local court administration is doing the best they can under these circumstances, but POA courts all over Ontario are being cancelled left, right, and center because of lack of judicial resources. There's currently 40 plus vacancies in the system with no reasonable relief in sight. The province, through the letter that Mayor Thompson and myself sent, were given a way of dealing with this that would bring retired per diem justices back into action by essentially extending their number of presiding days by addressing their pension cap, and our suggestion has been ignored and not responded to. So in my view, there isn't a single reason why there should be a single court closure due to lack of judicial resources. If they were prepared to call on the 70 or so retired justices to come back and preside in POA courts. I intend to pick this up now that the election is over, but it is disheartening in the extreme. And of course, the reality is that our per diem, or pardon me, our fine revenue has tanked from a high of around $160,000 a year to $41,000. And that is not all attributable to COVID. It is attributable to the way in which the courts are being organized and run. Mike, we can't hear you.
Yeah. I was
We
practicing
thought you were speechless there for a moment.
Yeah, I was. I was going to say, any questions for John on that? Okay, you remain tasked with that, Mr. Mayor.
I do, and I'm very attuned to Terry Ward's dilemma of scheduling officers to go and give evidence at trials, only to find out at the last minute that the day has been canceled because somebody has not shown up for whatever reason. And I'm reliably informed that this is happening everywhere. The local MPP is aware of it, and yet we still have no reaction, no response, and no solution in sight.
John, what's the reasoning behind people not showing up for work? Because people not showing up for work is, I don't know, I don't understand that. But anyway, it's why is that happening? And the second question I have, you said there's 70 retirees. Have they expressed an interest in coming back, or are you just assuming they would be?
To deal with the 70 retirees, if there was the incentive of allowing them to earn more money, in other words, the pension cap would be lifted, my expectation would be that a number of those people would be more than happy to preside in court. They have actually lifted the pension cap for judges because on the judge side, on the criminal side, they have deemed that there is a crisis insofar as case backlog. They have not made the same determination on the POA side. And we've asked them basically to make that same determination and use the same tool to try and get more judicial resources in place. The question of not showing up, a number of people have wondered whether there is a work to rule or there's some, side story that we're not aware of. Two things to be mindful of. Starting in April, the Chief Justice dictated that all judiciary had to drive to their court to preside. Before this, they were doing so by way of Zoom, and it was fairly efficient. And now, all of a sudden, everybody's got to get in their car and drive to the court location. But what happens in that court location is very interesting. They go into a room and they go on Zoom to preside in court. So this has led to incredible inefficiencies. So in POA, if somebody's coming up here, they may be driving, an hour and a half, only to go into chambers and go on Zoom to preside over a court that they could have just as easily presided over if they'd stayed home. It's madness. It makes no sense whatsoever. The bigger problem are the Well, there's scheduled court closures where they simply don't have a body. And then there's the unexpected closures where somebody phones in sick, and the priority are the criminal courts first, POA second. So somebody scheduled to do POA in Orangeville is all of a sudden doing a bail court in Brampton. And that's where we get penalized, because POA is at the lowest point in the totem pole.
Right. Okay.
Okay, any more questions for John? Thank you. Next item was the Joint Police Board meeting. We were all at that meeting, so I don't think we need to discuss that any further, but it was a good presentation from the the local detachment, and it was a interesting meeting, and there's potential that we're hosting the next one, and it would be probably in the new year after the municipal elections. So it won't be in 2022. It would be the first one in 2023. Okay, that's it for status update. False alarms, Shai?
Okay, so this quarter we had 15 false alarms. Outstanding right now, we have 0 fines. No one's been fined for anything. Generally, everyone's complying after the first letter they receive. I did notice on these 15, I haven't had a chance to send the letters out, that there are some repeats, and I will keep you posted at the next meeting.
Okay, very good. Motion to receive the false alarm report. Wayne, seconded by John. All in favor? Carried. Chief Ward.
Yeah. I don't even know how to respond to that, Mr. Chair.
You are our chief, so let there be no mistake.
I know, just before I get started on my report, I know John and I have had a couple conversations and email conversations back and forth about the whole POA stuff, and it is kind of frustrating, especially for our side of the house, when officers come in, even for the Zoom court stuff. They come into the office to give their evidence, and then we get the email that it's been canceled, the JP didn't show up, and again, we're still on the hook to pay them a callback, right? So that's kind of that is frustrating. Okay, so we will touch on the first quarter report for Mono, which is January and to March 2022. I'm sure you've all had a chance to review it, so I'm just going to touch on a couple of highlights, and then if there's any questions, we can deal with those. We're starting to see, because things are starting to open up a bit more, our calls for service are starting to increase a little bit. When you start to look through the billing hour summary reports, you'll start to see some of the things that are increasing. In the violent crime codes for the first quarter, you'll see 2 assault with weapon or bodily harm. Last year, none. You'll see an increase in assaults. Again, right, 5 as compared to 2. Going through the break and enter piece, again, we're starting to see a bit of an increase there. Not that it affects Mono, but we did have a big rash of vehicle entries in Shelburne. And yeah, did you get hit? Yeah. Well, we got the guy.
2 of our cars, but they weren't locked, so it was our own stupidity.
Yeah, and that's our big message we're trying to push out there, right? That those are crimes of opportunity, and these criminals are looking for the easy way, right? And luckily for us, we were able to get some video footage from a neighbor cam, and our street crime unit went to work and ended up identifying the person, and that person's since been charged, and lo and behold, they've all stopped, right? So I was waiting to see if we had a copycat out there or anything else that might be coming through, but so far it's been pretty good. So
Thank you.
Yeah, kudos to them. And it's kind of funny because we've had inquiries from some residents about getting their property back that was stolen, and we're kind of like, that's probably not going to happen. They're not going to refund you the $3.20 change that was in your cup holder, right? So
Exactly.
anyway, and again, we push that message out to lock your vehicles, and we've done a couple of videos. I did one with the mayor, one with the police service board chair, the lock it or loser piece, which brings me to another topic. I'm going to be all over the map, Mr. Chair, for a minute, but I'd like to do something with Mono. If either John or yourself are up for it, I don't know what our topic could be, but it would be nice to do some type of little video. Um,
John, your fingers up.
Um, and this may be something further on in the agenda that could be raised, but we are getting a lot of interest in reactivating Community Watch and putting on some kind of seminar or educational session with people who want to reactivate Community Watch. There was a question at last night's council meeting about this, so I just put it out there that to us right now is top of mind. We have a keener at the north end. We've got somebody very enthusiastic down in the south end, and they really want to get going on this.
yeah, so through the chair, I would have them. I would put them in contact with Constable Roach. She's our lead with that, and by all means, she can hook up. And if we need to do a town hall or whatever we need to do, we can definitely get that done. We just need some contacts, and Jen's more than willing to put her presentation forward, or go directly with these people and help them get it set up. So
And
that's
John, you'll do something with the inspector with respect to messaging.
I will.
Great.
okay. We can talk about that offline too, John. Like we can, if you have any ideas, like last year we had a bit of graffiti problem there. Maybe that's something we want to talk about. Whatever it needs to be. We can only be a maximum of I think a minute and 40 seconds or something like that. So it's a quick hit. But I think it's we're getting some good feedback off some of the videos we're doing. So it's just an offer out there. If it's something you're interested in, we can definitely do it.
And they're very well done too. I've seen them all, and the ones on ATVs, and
Yeah.
just excellent products that are coming probably from a simple iPhone.
Yeah, correct, Mr. Chair. Like that's it's being done and being edited and put out there. And I'm still waiting for Hollywood to call, but I've got an agent and everything, but just nothing yet. But we'll keep waiting, right? Anyway, moving on. We're into the property crime section. Again, as you can see, the break and enter was the large one at 4 over the first quarter. Everything else is fairly consistent. And at the end of the day, the weighted hours are the same this year as they were last year. Moving on again, even into the drug section, again, the same style as last year. We've had 3 more breach of probation charges laid this year than last year. Again, attributes to some people that are out and moving now that we're dealing with. The same weighted hours for the drugs. We had a decrease, which is nice to see a decrease in the mental health piece this year so far. And I attribute that to our partnerships that we're getting the people, our mental health units are getting the people in the connection with the people that they need. So then they're not calling the police. They actually have those outlets to call when they need help. So that's a good sign. Going through into the stray animals, again, the numbers are consistent. The domestics are up a little bit, 15 last year, 19 this year. Again, consistent. Going through into the operational section, which gets into what I look at here is more the neighbor disputes, the assist public calls, which are again consistent to last year. And actually, when you look at the total weighted hours, there's almost a 100-hour decrease, which again, the calls for service are down a bit. Our false alarms, again, it evens out. And at the end, the weighted hours are exactly the same this year as they were that year. So again, or last year. So again, consistency there. Where you see a little bit of an increase, we're getting a few more keep the peace calls, 6 extra. And again, we get those when there's been maybe some marriage split ups or something going on where they're calling us to come and stand by while they go in and retrieve property. Traffic, which is always the hot topic. Again, a bit of an increase in the weighted hours. We'll touch on that in a little bit further, but again, some property damage collisions up 15 last year, 23 this year in our first quarter. Moving into the records management system totals, and again, as you can see, I'm not going to touch on everything there. Again, a 60% increase in some of the calls, and mainly due to the assault section. Property crimes, again, which I touched on in the weighted, was pretty much the same. You're looking at a 3.7% increase, but overall consistent to last year. Drugs, again, when you look at it, 100% increase, but that's just going from 1 to 2. Moving into the next, these are the charges related throughout the county, not just specific to Mono, but for the first quarter. And again, I look at the total in the bottom right, and it tells me that the officers are out there and they're doing the enforcement piece. 2,779 charges laid in Dufferin County in the first quarter. So again, a lot of charges being processed in the county for sure. Next is just the collision registry. And as you can see, basically I look at a lot of the primary causes. We're seeing a few animal collisions, a few speed too fast for conditions. I know in looking, there's been a couple of ability impaired collisions. So again, right, the message that we still put out there is don't drink and drive, but it's not always being adhered to. The first chart on the collision types, again, as you can see, we've had a bit of an increase there too. But again, in the property damage section, fatal non-injuries, 6 as compared to 6 last year. Property damage 30 last year, up to 42 this year. So meanwhile, into the first quarter, we're at 48 collisions as compared to 36 last year. Into the part 1 and part 3s. As you can see, again, the numbers are consistent. We had a bit of a drop in March as far as PONs go, but I'm going to kind of put that back to with our traffic management unit, officers on the road, and with Larry, we're getting a bit of compliance, and that's a good sign. So when compliance is there, you're not going to see the enforcement piece because it's more of an education piece. In the previous Canada Road Safety Week that happened, we were second in the region in vehicle stops. So I don't mean just charges, but in actual contacts, with I believe it was over 3,000 contacts in that week. So again, right, the officers are out there, they're stopping the cars, they're dealing with the people. Doesn't always mean there's going to be a charge laid, but the contacts are there, and that's what we want to see.
Inspector, I see airport road's closed right now. That's not a fatal, is it?
Not that I've been notified of.
Okay, no, because the highway's closed due to a motor vehicle accident.
Oh, okay. It hasn't come up to me yet, so
20th Side Road.
If I hear anything, I'll let you know.
Airport and 20 Side Road.
Oh, okay.
You can't be on, you're not on the interweb, I guess.
I'm not. I get the notifications off my phone, and I only get them when they send them out through our provincial operations center. I find if I listen to the radio, it's distracting, so I don't listen to it. Then I want to go to the calls. Part 3s are again a bit of an increase there for the first quarter. We're looking at 112, and I believe a lot of those. Well, we get into Larry's stats are probably. He's doing a lot of stunt driving charges as well. He continues to be very consistent. Moving into his enhancement analytics, as you can see again, right? He continues to set the tone. Again, this year, very consistent already. As you see, January 130, February 156, March 160, and this brought him into April at 167 tickets in a month. Just to give you a bit of pat Larry on the back too. Currently, Larry is the second highest PON writer in the province of Ontario. So our traffic management unit, which includes Larry and then the 3 other officers, is in the top 5 in the province for traffic units. And I mean, that's only a 4-person unit, right? And we're going against like Caledon and places like that have 8, 9 people. So, I mean, I'm pretty proud of these people that are out there, and we've started a bit of we've got our ATVs now, and we've kind of taken a bit of an ATV uptake too to get out on the trails and do some patrols that way too. And so we're going to see a bit of a decline in our highway PONs, but I mean, it's a necessary purpose to get out on the trails because that's something that's never been policed around here before. So, and again, just some of the traffic position enhancement analytics. You can see, some of the stuff he's dealt with. 4 drive suspends. So in January, he had 5 stunt driving, 12 in February, 6 in March, and 10 in April. So again, right, those that counts into those part 3s. And again, the next chart just tells the same story based on from 2020 to 21 and 2022. False alarms. We already touched on that, 15. And then just some of the action plan stuff, as you can see, 22 hours of foot patrol, 20 and a quarter hours of ride. We had 15 mental health occurrences in the first quarter. Again, 8 impaired by alcohol charges in the first quarter. Ride grant vehicles checked, 665. And our auxiliary unit that's been back, they're back up and running, and we've had them out to a lot of events, and we're getting a lot of events and requests coming in. And they're already putting in, a lot of hours, especially February, March. And now as we move into the second quarter, they're basically engaged every weekend at events. So just the stats for that road.
Inspector,
Sorry.
just a question on the auxiliary. There's no bill back for any of those hours, is there?
No. Those are all volunteer hours. Yeah.
Okay.
We're actually looking, if you know of anybody that's interested in the auxiliary program, we got our complement pushed up by another 5. So we're looking to recruit minimum another 5 more officers to be engaged. So it's good. And it's good for people that want to make that step into full-time policing, but it's also good for those people that want to just give back to their communities. Right. So,
yeah.
And just the stats for the Road Canada Safety Week, which was mid-May, again, right. We did 273 PONs, 221 speeding charges, 14 community safety zone charges, 8 stop signs, 2 distracted driving, 5 stunts, 8 careless drivings. And our big, for all the initiatives we've had this year so far, I think there's been 4. The number we're most proud of is 0. And the 0 is we've had 0 fatalities. So, I'm knocking on wood. Yeah, exactly. But we're pretty happy with that. So the only other thing I was going to touch on is we've had the Black Cat deployed mid to end May. They put it out for a stretch on Hockley Road. I'm going to share this with you eventually. Some of the charts and data that they download, it's really hard to read. So me sending it to you, we'd spend a half an hour trying to decipher it. So I'm looking for an easier way to decipher the information. But this one where they put it on Hockley, it's the 70 kilometer an hour zone. This records all 3 lanes or 2 lanes with a combined, and the average that it totals up was the average speed was 85. So really, is it an issue? Are people speeding? There's a speed, but the average is 10 to 15 anyway. So you're looking at it's a 70 zone and people, the average is 85 going through there. We'd spend some time there. We will spend some time there. But at the end of the day, it's not coming back that they're at 100 or 110 going through that area. So that's what we're getting out there. I believe it's deployed again right now out in Mono. So once we get that data too, and again, it's one of those things that if you hear of a hotspot that maybe we should look at putting it, send me an email and we'll definitely put it on our list and we'll get it deployed out there and see if there actually is a problem or if it's a perceived problem. So, barring any questions, Mr. Chair, that's my report for the first quarter.
Okay, thanks, Inspector. Just one of the questions that came up that we tossed back and forth because I get emails from the clerk was with respect to the tagging on private property, and Jen was going to look into that. Did you ever get any feedback as to the results of that discussion?
I know she had a discussion there, and again, it's private property. We have no authority to go onto private property and tag and or tow vehicles. So it comes back to the owner to make that call. If they want that vehicle removed, it's up to them to call a tow company and have the vehicle removed. We have zero authority to tow anyone's vehicle on private property.
Even under the Trespass to Property Act?
There's no towing authority in there.
No. Ways and Means Act?
That gets us sued.
Okay, and you did update us on the neighborhood watch. So any inquiries that are coming in with respect to that should go there. I have noticed that the Mono Community Policing has been fairly active on Facebook lately. So I don't know whether they're rejuvenating themselves, but they should certainly be involved with Jen at some point as well, and um, uh, getting things going again from that side of the house.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, we just need a contact and we'll then, she'll follow up. It's just we need a name and a contact to follow up with.
Yeah, they don't appear to be very eager to connect with us after Anne separated from us. So I don't know really what's going on there, but as I say, they have been active reposting things on Facebook. So I might send them a private message and see what's going on. Mr. Mayor?
A couple of things. I rather suspect what you're seeing on Facebook are posts by the individuals who want to get the community watch up and running. First and foremost. The second thing, I should acknowledge the passing of Don Butts, who was the initiator for community policing back in the late 1990s. Don passed about 2 weeks ago, and he was instrumental in running that program along with Anne for many, many years.
Yeah, duly noted. I did see that, but it actually was the Dufferin community. It was their logo and everything came up, so it wasn't Mr. Hosein and the folks that
Okay.
are pushing for the neighborhood watch. So it actually was coming from the organization. So I will follow up with that.
Fair enough.
Okay. Any further questions for Chief Ward? Mr. Mayor.
Something I neglected in my report on the POA meeting, one of the issues that arose was the intended and unintended consequences of the cancellation of the VAL tag, the sticker on the back of your license. As has been reported in the press, the province is probably taking a hit of upwards of $1 billion on renewal of the license sticker. But one of the questions that has come up is that also POA revenue is taking a hit from the standpoint of the the fact that going forward there's no longer charges for failing to have a up-to-date VAL tag. And then the question arose during the course of the POA meeting, what about the value to being able to put a driver into suspension as a result of the VALTAG matter, and that seems to be an issue as well. So we've lost one more lever in terms of keeping people current on their outstanding fine revenues, because they no longer have to renew that on a annual or semi-annual basis.
Okay, very good. I know I've renewed all my vehicles, but I have the piece of paper that I'm carrying with me in the car now, and it's not even an official receipt. It's sort of strange. It's sort of like a receipt for purchasing something, but there's no expiry date or anything on it either. So I know that when the folks do enter my plate into the box of dots in the car, it's going to come back as being valid. But it sure would have been nice when you do the online renewal that there would be something that if I had to show it to the Ohio State Police when I'm driving through Ohio, that it shows that it's valid to a certain date. And maybe we should be scraping the old tags off of our license plates now, so that they don't give the false impression that that's an expired plate when we're traveling outside of the province. Any comments there, Inspector?
No, that's a good point, though, you raised, Mr. Chair. I never thought of that. Yeah, it's one of those things right now. I think a lot of our officers are just avoiding because it's kind of a convoluted kind of thing they got going there. And I mean, a lot of people are, like you, like me, we've registered, but there's nothing to put on our ownership or anything to say that we're registered, right? That we're up to
Right.
date. So it's interesting, and it hasn't changed the programming on some of our the cameras in the cars that are hitting on the val tags, right? And it's beep beep beeping away because they're showing as expired, right? So
But
it's
if I can pursue this, the story I'm hearing is there is still an obligation to renew the plate,
correct.
and yet they've removed the automatic notification that your plate has expired. What are people supposed to do? If you ask me right now, I don't know when my plate expires. I know when my val tag expired, but I have no idea when I'm supposed to get a new plate.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think the plate's actually expiring. It's your registration, and the val tag was just the visible confirmation that you had renewed. But the funny thing now too is that you used to have to be able to put your insurance information in to renew it, and now like putting in like Chieftain 12357 whatever my number is. Now all there's a tick box that says I got insurance.
Yeah.
So yeah, God bless.
Drive onus is
Honest to
on the
God,
driver now, right? Like, and it's people can hit a checkbox just as easy as anything, but
yeah. So
it,
anyway, that's not our problem to solve.
yeah. And the only other thing I'll add, Mr. Chair, on a separate topic is the OPPs going away from doing the police criminal record checks in house. So effective the 13th, which was this past Monday, you can apply for a record check online now. And the only way you'd have to come into the office is if you need to be fingerprinted. So
Right.
that's the message we're trying to get out there now too, is that that's become supposedly easier and more accessible. We'll see how it plays out.
Right. Yeah, and they took the charges away, adjusted some of the fees as well. John, what
Yeah,
did you do? You're now clear as a bell there.
yeah.
I just moved down further down the couch.
Oh, well,
Well, it
well,
worked.
that, that's the sweet spot there because
Yeah,
I had to plug in my computer.
oh, okay, there you go. Okay, any other OPP related questions,
Right,
folks?
expire.
Okay, do we have any correspondence, Madam Secretary? No correspondence? Okay, any new
None.
business?
Nope.
Oh, John, you moved
Um,
off your sweet spot.
sorry,
Yep.
Mike, did we do the motion to receive the OPP report?
Oh, you are on the ball today. Okay, do I have a motion to receive the OPP report? John and seconded by Wayne, all in favor, with thanks to Chief Ward for his excellence as usual. Um, okay, any new business? Okay, very good. Um, my wife's getting a hip replacement in 3 weeks. That's my new business. So I'll be very busy with that. Considering she saw the doctor for the first time last week and she's getting it done 3 weeks later, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Where does she go to get that done, Mike?
Toronto Western, they have the hip and knee specialty clinic there, and her doctor referred her to there. We got an appointment. He said, "Okay, how's May 31st?" Oh, no, a little early. So
Yeah.
June 6th. So I'm going to be busy for a couple months this summer. But anyway,
Yeah.
good
Well,
to get her done.
all the best to her, because I think she'll notice quite a difference.
Yeah, she will. But she's hasn't driven now for 2 months, so she's chomping at the bit to get behind the wheel. But that won't happen until at least September. Okay. Any other new business? Okay. Do we have a motion to confirm the proceedings of the meeting of the Mono Police Services Board held today? A motion by John Creelman, seconded by Wayne Evans. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And motion to adjourn at 1:42. Motion by John Creelman, seconded by Wayne Evans. Approved and carried. And our next meeting is, I don't have the date. Do you have it, Shay? I think it's September. Let me just look
Um,
on my calendar here. Hang on.
I show the 14th of September.
Then if you show that, then that's, yep, there it is. So the next meeting is the 14th of September at 1 o'clock. Uh, at the moment, we'll say virtual unless that changes. We'll let you know. And when's the election?
That's my wedding anniversary, but you guys don't have to get me anything. It's okay.
Okay, so we won't hold an evening meeting then.
Yeah, maybe we
Mr.
should.
Chair, Mr.
Yes.
Chair, just on timing of that meeting, have we heard any news on the issue of our governance model and whether we're into something new by that point or whether it's still up in the air?
Well, as you recall from our the meeting with the joint board, I think we were advised by the advisor there that things are so far up in the air that it's unlikely that anything is going to happen in this year, and that's why we are also holding off the Joint Police Services Board meeting.
Fair enough.
I'd had an off the record conversation with Dwayne, and he had said that the Dufferin proposal was going to be accepted, but then everything went on hold. So how that's going to look when they come back, who knows?
Yeah, that's interesting because I had a discussion with somebody, and I don't even know who it was, and but it was from the Orangeville side, and I don't think they were happy with it. So anyway, go
Have
figure.
we stopped recording?
Yeah.
Can I speak freely if it's not recording?
Yeah, the meeting is adjourned. Andrew, turn off the recording, please.